Investors are dumping dollars in quick fashion. The dollar has broken absolutely critical support. But what does this mean for your crypto? Could this be a catalyst to bring liquidity back into the market and allow for crypto to start rallying? Well, that's what we're going to decipher in today's show. If you have a look at the Banter Bubbles chart over here, you can see a lot of the coins are starting to pop, but it's in an unpredictable fashion. A lot of the altcoins are randomly starting to get liftoff, and most of the action seems to be happening there over Bitcoin. So let's get into the cracks and crevices of the market. And you can see over here, if you look at Bitcoin on the 3-day time frame, we have a massive series of spinning top candles. This is probably the most that I've ever seen consecutively. What is a spinning top candle? Essentially, it is an indecision zone, suggesting that the market is very undecided on what to do next. And you have pretty much 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21 days straight of consolidation at those highs with spinning top candles over there. Spinning top candles mostly are indecision candles, which would suggest that bulls cannot crack through this level. But considering the new information that we have with the dollar breaking down absolutely critical levels, could it be that that would be enough to push price action through here? You do have some bullish absorption which is taking place because bears cannot seem to push price any lower than this region over here, which is 29,700. I wonder if we'll even get that dip to 28.5, which is what most analysts have been looking at for quite some time. So let's look at this chart over here. This is the parallel channel. Ultimately, if we do break through this region, well, you're going to find a bit more resistance at $32,000. And if you can hold above that, ultimately a major local top could potentially be set in that $37,000 to $38,000 region if it happens over the next couple of weeks to months. And if we move on over here to our weekly chart, we identified that 50% pullback level. If that pullback does come, this is definitely a buy the dip opportunity. It's going to be where the green line is at 28,870. Why have we chosen that level? Well, simply put, every major pump that we had previously, when you measured that candle out at the 50% mark, price reverted back into that 50% zone and led into a major rally. But with a consolidation going on for this long, there is no guarantees. Ultimately, you are creating yet another bull flag. Remember, bull flags have a high probability of breaking to the upside, especially considering that the trend is already up. We have higher highs and higher lows across all time frames that matter, which is the most important thing. Lining up with that $28,800 zone, you can see how that lines up. If we look at the Gaussian channel, it comes directly into the shorter term moving average, which also matches up with the top side of the Gaussian channel. Pullbacks into that zone, in my opinion, are for buying, and I would continue to hold my longs until such time as the market presents a complete break of structure, which we have not yet seen. Consolidation continues on the daily time frame over here with price below the pivot level. One day we're above, the next day we're below. Today our pivot level is 30,635. We are still holding the short and the medium time frame moving average, which is a good thing. What about Ethereum? Ethereum also below the pivot level, which is coming in at $1,881, oscillating around that region. So the consolidation does continue. And then if you look at the NASDAQ is absolutely pumping. This is possibly also due to the dollar, which has recently lost a critical level. It will be very interesting to see what the stock market does later on today based on this new dollar breakdown, which has just taken place. And then the S&P 500 is shortly behind the NASDAQ. NASDAQ is front running the rest of the market. Bitcoin still got some catch up to do to get in line with the S&P 500 and NASDAQ. And then, of course, we have ETH, which is lagging behind completely. Here is your stock market, right? The S&P 500 futures chart continuing onwards and upwards. It's just higher lows and higher highs and continuation. Expect that to be the trend. This gray box area will be a big zone to get through. Once you get through that, most bears will begin to capitulate on their short trade ideas. And ultimately, this is where they'll start to throw in the towel and look to go long. And then the market probably goes on to new all-time highs. That may only happen sometime towards the end of the year or going into next year. And there it is. That is the DXY, the dollar. I am on the weekly time frame. Let's zoom out over here and you can have a look just for a bit of perspective what's going on over here. Again, you can see with the Lux algo indicator, the order blocks over here, which led to major breakdowns. There's one. Here's your next one over here. Shows the break of structure as well. And ultimately, this is what I'm viewing. So you have this parallel channel which is leading price towards the upside. Prices, or at least the DXY, has been oscillating within that zone. You had a hard rejection deviation over the top side, came back down into that channel, and then you also have a range, right? The main range levels is pretty much right where price action is right now, sitting around that 100 mark. If the DXY breaks back into this range, this has been a long-term range, right? Look at how long we held this range since 2015. You would ultimately be breaking back into that range then and expecting continuation down first to the bottom side of the parallel channel, which is your trend line, your supporting trend line. Maybe you get a bounce over there. It lines up with your mid-range as well, coming in around that 94, 95 level mark for the DXY. If it does bounce, maybe it leads to the next lower high, and ultimately over time, you lead towards the bottom side. So timing wise, if you have a look at that, the trajectory of the trend line, it comes into that 2025 region, which I find pretty interesting because that lines up with everything you would expect for Bitcoin to find a major top, whether that's going to be a blow-off top or a cycle top. Usually timing wise, you're looking at about 2025 towards the end of that year. So definitely the dollar is something noteworthy and interesting, which we need to keep our eye on over the coming days and weeks, because this is a critical level. We don't rule out the possibility that there could also be a fake out towards the downside. This is often something that you see within markets, but already you've tagged this level once, twice. This is now your third time. I don't believe that triple bottoms have a higher hit rate because you've hit that trend line now 3 times, but it is still a possibility. You have to stay open to the fact that you could end up getting a deviation back into the range like that, and then ultimately that means the dollar would pick back on up. But hold below this level, and ultimately, yeah, the dollar is going to start to break down majorly in the coming weeks. So something worth keeping an eye on. And could that dollar breakdown lead to a liquidity spike? If you look at our liquidity charts over here, net USD liquidity trending down, People's Bank of China completely flat, USD stablecoin supplies on its way down, major central bank assets also completely wiped in terms of liquidity. Where's the liquidity going to come from? Maybe it's going to be from the dollar breakdown, and that's going to flow into risk on assets, or first the stock market considered more of a safe haven, and then that can flow into risk on assets. You can already see the stock market rallying. Before we continue, take 1 second out of your day to smash the like button. It really helps to get the show content out there. Today's show is going to be pretty quick because not much has changed other than what's happened with the dollar. I'll give you the low time frame levels as well as a potential trade setup that you can be looking at on the hourly time frame. If you look over here at Tom Dunn-Levy, he says a record $2 trillion is outstanding in private equity, which is cash to invest. So sideline money, they're waiting. These guys have been waiting for the dip. Will they be putting money back into the market? I think it's a real possibility, especially since they're holding dollars, right? If those dollars start to diminish in value, then they need to put those dollars to work. Otherwise, their funds are going to face serious problems from investors, and they need to put their money to work, which means it could be flowing into equities and therefore overflowing into crypto at a later stage. The ETH BTC chart continues with its downward pressure. Still have the same target in mind. That 0.0557 level is the zone to watch. Yesterday, we outlined the Solana ETH chart over here. You can see the break of structure on the left-hand side. Here we have it. This was your previous low high. We broke and held above that, consolidating within that region. Gray box territory over here is also your mid-range. Price is starting to break and hold above that. So could Solana be a better bet than ETH? It is a real possibility. Ultimately, Bitcoin is still your best bet. And what you would need to focus on is once ETH gets into this zone over here. So if ETH comes down into a major support area, starts to bounce, and you still have the Solana ETH chart looking hot and healthy, well, that's an opportunity, right? Then you line that up with the Solana USD chart and any retests that come back into the 200-day moving average, then you can start to build a position. But for now, Bitcoin is still the number one bet and the main chart that I would be focused on for the time being. Once all of those things line up for Solana, so as I mentioned, ETH BTC comes into the bottom of the range over here. Solana's outperforming ETH. Then pull up your Solana BTC chart as well. Let's do that right now. And then make sure that this one is doing something like this, right? Solana BTC needs to come above here, break structure, consolidate in this region in the same way that you're seeing on the ETH or the Solana ETH chart. And then you can start to convert into your Solanas. So don't run ahead of the gun yet because it's not time. Still, it's better to be in BTC. This could easily turn back over and form yet another lower high. So you got your series of low highs forming and your downtrend on the Solana BTC chart. We will go into other altcoins, so let's move that across. I believe that Litecoin is supposed to be one that we should look at today. Apparently, it's getting moving. Somebody just told me, and we'll go and have a look at that. Okay, let's look at BTC USD over here. If we do lose this 50 MA, same thing as mentioned. If you lose these MAs, we've been oscillating above and below for quite some time. You are going to get major support at your 200 exponential moving average, currently at $29,440 and rising each and every single day. We have Ethereum. Let's look at Ethereum's one. Ethereum is currently holding the 200 exponential moving averages support. If you do start to close and hold for a couple of 4-hour candles below that, so let's say a daily close below this level at 1862, well, that could lead ultimately to much lower prices, and that's where it starts to become a risky environment. So if you are trading ETH over Bitcoin at the moment, you're taking on a whole lot more risk for a lot less reward. So definitely, in my opinion, I think BTC is still the better play. And what are those levels of interest? Well, they haven't changed for the good part of how many days? This has been the range that we've been stuck in ever since the 21st of June, which is around 3 weeks. What a range this has been. It's been forever. When we eventually break out of this range, remember, the longer the consolidation, the bigger the breakout or the breakdown if we were to go to the downside, and expect to be tested before something like that does take place. Here you have your liquidity all over the place, top side, downside, and it's whichever side gets tagged first, you want to counter trade that move. Meaning that if price does push into the top side liquidity first at $31,450, ultimately you'll be looking for a swing failure back into the range, and you're looking for a short trade, playing it back towards mid-range and then down to the bottom of the range. Same thing is true if you sweep the range lows first. That's your liquidity pool coming at 29,500. Could you go lower? Of course, guys, you can go lower. You can go 28.9. You can even go down to 28,500. The point is that the trade becomes active when you break back into that range. You have to wait for the break back into the range. Then you have your risk level, right? Now you can work out your risk, which is going to be below wherever that wick does eventually get set. And then same thing, you're playing the long trade back into the mid-range and then back to the top of the range. If you do see the bottom side tag first, I actually think I might prefer that, because I would be targeting then towards the mid-range, then the top side, and then still leaving some on the table in the case that this is the major bull flag that does break out, right? Remember, this is your pole section of the flag. Here's your long flag that's been forming, and then you can ultimately compound that on the way up for a major breakout. Okay, so that is that. If we look over here at the liquidity levels, you can see the cumulative liquidation delta has now flipped negative, meaning that market participants have now started to chase price down on this little bit of drawdown that we've seen. Very, very small moves. For the most part, you have no business playing these moves. Your best trade right now is to wait for a sweep of either the top side liquidity or the bottom side liquidity. I want to make that very, very clear. Any other coins that you're trading really at the moment is just gambling, because the altcoins are popping in random fashion. There's no predictability or edge that you can really have at the moment until such time as Bitcoin chooses a major direction. So lining that up, okay, let's skip this chart over here. It's pretty much the same thing. Our liquidity at the top side, 31,300. A little bit of liquidity at the downside, 29,650. Continue to remain range bound. A little bit of excitement in the market around the Mt. Gox coins and the US government coins, showing that there was some selling that potentially took place. Remember, if those coins moved and they were sold, then the announcement will only be made after the case, right? So if you look over here, last time the government also sent BTC on a Wednesday and was done TWAPing by the following Tuesday. Very likely they'll do exactly the same thing. So then the selling's done, and then ultimately price starts to trend back towards the upside. So that is your very, very quick wrap up. Smash the like button, hit the bell notification, and subscribe to the channel. And we're not done yet. Let's take a look at Litecoin. Let's have a quick look at Litecoin. Where is Litecoin? I know that people get annoyed when I look through the thing like this. Okay, let's just type it in over here. Litecoin, USD. Okay, Litecoin on the bottom over here. Let's pull that up. So Litecoin, ultimately, very small move that's currently taking place. Here is our ranges. We are currently coming into resistance, which is that mid-range level. So it's okay. I mean, any sweep back into the 200-day moving average, I think, could be an opportunity. Once you start to get above this level and hold above this level, then it is an opportunity to go long. Ultimately, this would be your retrace, right? You have the major move up. You've now filled that candle. That whole inefficiency area has been filled. And if this were to continue up, ultimately, you're going to be putting your stop loss underneath that wick that's over here, currently coming in at $92. And you would be continuing with the trend, right? Which is higher highs and higher lows, expecting to reclaim above the mid-range, and then you can start to target towards the top side. Now, Litecoin has actually this entire year outperformed Bitcoin by about 200%. So do with that information as you will. It still is risky, right? It's probably not going to survive in the long run against Bitcoin, but for these Litecoin halving narrative plays, there is a play there. There is an opportunity. I'd be looking at around that $145 as really the level where I'd want to start to load off on my Litecoin and start to err on the side of caution. I still think the safer play, risk to reward wise, is going to still be Bitcoin for the time being. Let me know in the comments if there is anything else. Okay, I see Drishan says, will the altcoins that we mentioned in yesterday's comments be discussed today? Not on the show. I haven't had a chance to go through all of those coins, but I am aware that you guys dropped all of them in there. We have another plan for those, which is something that we want to build into the future for you guys, a real value add for you, whereby we can take chart requests and basically update you on those. It'll probably end up being dropped in the Discord. So let me know, is there any coins that you see that are quite strong? Okay, somebody is saying NEAR. They want to see NEAR. Let's quickly look for NEAR. Where's NEAR? Here's NEAR. Okay. NEAR still against USD, guys, still not looking too hot over here. This is the same thing as I mentioned last time. You can see not much has happened. If you do get a deviation back over here, really only once you reclaim the 200-day moving average does it become something that's worth looking at. Otherwise, you could very well just end up rejecting from that level and continuing back down. It's definitely a consolidator phase. I don't know if you're going to get strong markdown phases where you lead to aggressive sell-offs like you had over here. Probably unlikely, but you want to play the strong ones, right? So you could end up seeing something like this where it just kind of accumulates and washes around here, and then still at a later stage you reclaim that 200. Remember, if you put your money into something, even if you don't lose much money, you could be losing a lot of opportunity, right? So if you do get an entry, let's say you get the entry over here, you have some sort of a sweep, breaks back above, but it ends up consolidating like this for a very long time, for a couple of months, maybe even a year. Well, you're losing a huge amount of opportunity because there's probably a lot of coins that won't do that. Other coins may already start to be trending up much more quickly, and therefore you're losing the opportunity to compound that account. Okay, what else do we have? Atom BTC. Where is, I don't know where my BTC chart is. Let's quickly go. Let's go into one of these. Let's go onto Injective, because Injective was pretty hot. I see someone wants Injective. Injective had been running aggressively for a long period of time. He has Injective on the daily. Okay, so it is still forming a range. You can see the top side over here has been capped and it's struggling to get above there. And ultimately, you did make a new swing low. So it is possible that this one is starting to fade. I'd want to trade this near the extremities if I were to get in. I'd rather wait for a test into this $6 region and see what happens over there. Look for a reaction, see if it can bounce from there. At the moment, there's a good chance that this could be distributing. Always ask yourself, is this accumulation or is this distribution? Whenever you look at a chart, is this currently accumulation or distribution? Because if it is distribution, ultimately you would expect that it's going to look like this, right? It's going to start to distribute and that's it. Not saying that's going to happen. If it's accumulation, either way, you should expect that it's going to come back into the bottom of the range. And then this is your whole reaccumulation phase that's going to be taking place. So buying it up here at these levels, probably not worth it. Although, yes, of course, it can push into this level again, giving you a decent percentage move. What would that be as a percentage? You'd be looking at possibly another 15%. There's better things out there at the moment, in my opinion. Okay, Render. Render was also one that was absolutely pumping for a long period of time. Let's look at Render. Okay, render had the head and shoulders formation, which had formed over here. It's only confirmed upon a breakdown of the neckline. But if you delete the head and shoulders just to clean it up a little bit, what are you seeing? I would pose the exact same question to you. Is this accumulation or distribution which is taking place over here? So if you take a look at this section of the chart, is this accumulation or distribution? At I value, I'm going to be honest with you, this looks more likely like it's going to distribute to me. So, and if it's not going to distribute, if it is reaccumulation, you should expect at least another tag of that 200-day moving average, which is currently coming in at $1.60. And then you have the opportunity to possibly get long. But at the moment, this looks like it could easily be distribution, right? Continuing down, if it's accumulation, I expect to see pushes into here and then ultimately a reclaim back above that $2 zone for continuation higher. Okay, let's see what else is there. CFX. Okay, let's look. I don't know if I have CFX on here. Let's bring CFX up. CFX USD. Is this one fine? Let's go on Binance. Okay, CFX. I don't know, guys. I think there's stronger charts out there. Remember, this is also a trick for you. Just remember, always go onto CoinGecko. Whenever you're looking at any of these charts, just take a look over here. So obviously, this is measured in USD value. Go onto the top here, USD. Go onto BTC. This is just for a quick scan. It's obviously easier than loading the whole thing up on TradingView. And then you can go to CFX. CFX, like that. CoinFlux. Okay, it is in the top 100. Go max. And then you can kind of see how does it look against Bitcoin over here. So still in a downtrend. I mean, that you can see over here again. Is this accumulation or distribution? It takes a long time to have accumulation. This looked like accumulation. Then you had a major pump which took place over here. And ultimately that pump is being faded. So if it's not outperforming Bitcoin, it's not necessarily worth it unless you're looking at it for a very short-term trade. You are stuck below the 200-day moving average over here. Let's quickly mark out some levels though. So you would probably be looking at something like that to act as your support. Very, very important that it bounces off of this. But look at this. It's just lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, equal lows. Ultimately, that usually leads into a breakdown, right? So if you were to draw something out like this, then you have, what is that? A descending triangle. Descending triangles have a high probability of breaking down, and you're already nearing the apex of that descending triangle. So not something I'd look at. I see somebody's asking for energy web token. Let's go to EWT. Crypto Chico's coin. I know he loves that coin. I heard about it from him ages ago. Okay, coming into the bottom of the range. I mean, I really feel for the guys that were buying this up here. Oh my goodness. I remember this pump over here. $49. That is absolutely brutal. But let's zoom in. Let's quickly zoom in and have a look at this. So zooming in, it is coming into the range low, but again, you have to ask yourself, although maybe it holds this level and it doesn't break this down, the problem is that you may reaccumulate in this area for a very long time. You may see something like this, and ultimately it starts to reclaim the 200, and maybe the 200 kind of oscillates around, and it continues to do what it's done ever since about May. Now that means that you're losing a lot of opportunity, right? If you're looking to swing trade this, again, it totally depends on your strategy and what you're trying to do. If you're trying to swing trade this, I think there's better coins out there. Energy Web tokens time probably will come, but yeah, this is an important level, 269 to all the way down to about 250. That level must hold, and more importantly, you need to reclaim the 200-day moving average. All right, let's see if there is anything else. Okay, that's Frax. Okay, somebody asked, did they ask for Frax? No, they asked for FTX. So I have FTX on here. FTT. They wrote FTX, but I assume you mean FTT. Let's see. I will bring it up if I don't have it. I just don't want to click it twice. Here. No. Okay, let's bring it up. FTT, USD. Which one? Let's go for this one. Bybit. All right, guys. Also, a very quick shout out to the sponsors. If you are looking for an exchange, there are exchange links below. You do get sign-up bonuses. Take a look at the ones that are listed below. And then also check out Lux Algo if you are looking for indicator which helps with order blocks. Use the promo code KD30. You're getting up to 30% off. And then I use High Block Capital for all the liquidity. You get 15% off. You don't get that anywhere else. Okay, let's go on to FTT over here. FTT, guys, it looks terrible. I mean, I don't know why you'd want to trade this unless you want to trade it as a range. The only way that I'd possibly ever touch this is on the extremities. Literally just mark out your range like this. Set your orders pretty much where these wicks are. If you see price coming back into the zone over here, so it's kind of one of those trades where you want to forget about it. So the trade would look something like this. The trade would look something like this. You're basically just setting your orders over here. Okay, that's a bit extreme. Let's just go there. Okay, stop. TP. That's your short. And then you're doing the same thing on the long side from the bottom. Pretty much entry into the bottom. TP at the top. Stop goes a little bit below. Okay, there we have it. I'll make it big for you to see. This is kind of the only way that I would touch something like this. It's not a gamble. It's still a trade, but it's very liquid. I don't know what the liquidity is over here, how much of that's even going to get filled, but you'll be looking for something like that. If this range continues, kind of just position your orders, set them up, leave them, come back, put alerts on. So you can set your trading alerts over here. Cool. If your short got added, let's say, for example, you have $250 just for argument's sake that you were going to leave in USDT anyway. You may as well just enter it for this trade over here because you were going to pool it anyway. You weren't using it towards anything else. So it's just sitting there dormant. And then maybe you get lucky. There's a big spike, captures the liquidity, and then shorts it back towards the downside. And then you can grab those profits and flip long. That's the only real way that I would trade something like that. I think that brings us to the end. Very, very slow day on the markets. But I think maybe based off of what's happening with the dollar, we could potentially see some action. I think that possibly, what are we on, Thursday? Sometime by next week, I feel like we'll probably leave that range. And that's based on timing counts. If you look at the timing counts, it's of statistical probability that the market has to have an expansion phase, right? Meaning that we're going to break out of that flag. So stay patient, continue to come and watch the shows. I do applaud you and appreciate all of you for coming each and every day, even when not much is happening. Thank you all so much for watching. By the way, again, that question that somebody asked about the comment section on yesterday's stream, still go back on yesterday's stream and drop those trades over there. We are currently mapping them out. It's going to take a bit of time, and we have something exciting planned for you. I'll see you all on the next video, which is tomorrow. Have a fantastic day. Thank you all for watching, and cheers for now.